Okay, I'm going to show you how I put these together. So this is a doll. I showed you how to crank. I have Kitchenered the bottom toe. This is the dress. And this will be the head that I will still have to Kitchener together. So I Kitchenered the toe together, and then I ended here with the Kitchener, and I threaded my yarn up through this side to the center. This was the leftover from my Kitchener. And what I then do is I just stitch it back and forth through there, and it kind of doesn't matter a whole lot if you get in the exact same row, but I like to try just so that the line gets hidden. So I go in between a row, stick the needle through. I like to make sure that I'm coming out on the other side in the same row also, just because this black yarn is going to be going on the white yarn, and if you're not in the same row, it's going to cross over. It's not going to matter a ton though, because it is going to be stuffed, and then the line kind of gets hidden. But I kind of try a little bit to stay within the same row. And I will just do that. Oops, I got off a row. I will just do that all the way up to this point right here. So this was 30 rows from the toe to the waist, and then 10 of those rows are underwear color. So I'm gonna just sew all the way up to that point. And then I like to stuff it before I sew the arms. I like to get the legs stuffed before I sew the arms, just because that's what I like to do. And see how that crossed over there? It's not going to be a huge deal because once it's stuffed, that's going to kind of disappear. And also the dress will be down over it. But if you're particular, and sometimes I am, but if you're a particular person, then just make sure you get into the same row each time, or switch to white thread. But I don't like to switch. I like to just keep using the same yarn that's already attached, so I don't have to tie any knots and pull anything else through. Yeah, so just do that. And then I tie a knot, and then I stick it to the inside, like so, and then I go in here and I will secure it once more from the inside, and then I usually just loop it like that, and then I'll snip it off, and this will get tucked down into the leg, and then I will stuff it. So this is just some bats I had out of This is some suffix cross. There's still a little veg matter in it, but I am never going to spin this because I got bored of it. So I just take a little bit and I kind of shape it like the legs, and I will stuff it down into each leg. So then there's your legs. And then I kind of push that down in the body some. And now I will take some red yarn and sew the arms. So I kind of like pinch it flat a little, take a peek at it, and then I usually like to count in about 6 rows from the edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'll stick the thread through there, and then I'll do the same on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'll be there, and then I'll run it back through, and then I will tie a knot, and then the end of the knot I will tuck inside later, and then I'm going to sew up about, I'd say it's about 2/3 of the way. So this is going to be like, it looks like the hands are in the pocket. So I'm going to sew up to about here, and then this ends up being the shoulder. So I just like this. And sometimes with the arm, since I usually use the same color, I'm not as careful, and I kind of just weave it through a little bit like this, catching the bottom loops as I come through, and pull it up. And it's invisible on the front and mostly pretty much visible on the back. So then I will do the same thing. I will run through here and tie a knot, and then I put that towards the inside. Same thing with this. And just tuck it to the inside. And then I will repeat the same process on this side. And I might not have a long enough piece here. We'll see. 4, 5, 6, go in there, and it's not an exact science. This is just kind of what I do. Oh, and that's not long enough. I'm gonna need another piece of thread that's longer. So I'm gonna grab this black one because it's longer. And it's what I have on hand. And you can see once it's stuffed, you can't really see the other color thread unless you're like looking for it. So it doesn't really matter if you use a different color. tie that knot to secure that, and then we'll get to weaving in. Sewing in, I guess. You just want to make sure that, you know, you're not going back into the same exact hole, or otherwise you're not actually sewing it. So, oops, I caught my tail there with that one. Oh, and I went in the wrong row. I hope that you can see what I'm doing. I wasn't even paying attention. I was looking at the doll, not looking to see if you can see what I'm doing. Secure that and tuck it to the inside. And let's do it once more on the inside. Snip the excess. Secure this one because I didn't before. Okay. Now, let's tuck this in. Oh goodness, it's like traffic hour. Tuck that in. And now we'll stuff the arms. So I just take a little bit of wool and I kind of just use my finger, push it down in the arms, and because you know it's all open there, I like to make sure it gets all the way to where the hips are. And past a little, so there's one arm stuffed, and now I'll stuff the other one. And I kind of try to make sure they're stuffed as evenly as I can. It's not always the easiest thing to do. And then I will stuff the body. And so there's like that. And now I will cinch in the neck. So I push that foam down in there, and then in the other video I showed that I like to leave a long tail for doing this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab each one of these white loops from the bottom. So from the bottom of the loop all the way around, and I sometimes like to kind of just go underneath each stitch all the way around. I kind of load a few of them up on my darning needle, and then I'll pull it through and just so once I've got all the way back around, then I am just going to pull this string and tuck the body fluff down in there, pull that string till it's about the size I want for a neck, which is about that size, and then I will grab that loop there and then tie that in a knot to secure it, and I usually tie a couple just to make sure it stays in the same spot. And then I'll snip off some of the extra, and there is the body of our little vampire lady. And what I will do is I will Kitchener stitch this together, and this will be her head. So if I stuff this here, you can see it'll look just like that. So I'll Kitchener that together, and then I'll duplicate stitch over this, and I'll make a little widow's peak. And then I will take little bits of black yarn with a crochet hook, and I'll attach them probably around her entire hairline and give her some long hair. I might go all the way on top of the head. I don't know, we'll see. But more or less, that will be our little vampire lady. And I won't stuff this. I'll Kitchener stitch probably about to here, and then I'll, just to make it easier on myself, then I'll shove that in there and finish Kitchenering the rest of the way across. There are other people who have way better videos on how to Kitchener stitch with the toes. It's not like a regular knitted Kitchener stitch where you have to put it on needles. You just use the end of your yarn and a darning needle. So you basically are going to go down through this first stitch and then up through the one on the left of it, and then I go down through this next stitch. I also like to come across through the first stitch I did and then the little loop below it, just so there's not a little hole there, and then I come up through this next white stitch. And then you're going to continue along where you go down through the old and up through a new, and then down through the old, up through the new, and you just continually go across in that manner until you're about 2/3 of the way done, and then you shove your stuffing in there and then finish it to the end. So there are lots of people who have better videos of close-up of how to do this with better camera setups than just their cell phone, but the important part of this is to make sure that you're only going into the stitches you want and not the waste yarn, because if you end up going through the waste yarn, you have to break it or snip it out later. So that's how that's done. And I hope this helps you. Use your creativity, your imagination, make dolls of all shapes and sizes and colors, and give them dresses or not dresses. I made a scarecrow that has overalls, and I just made an I-cord and stitched the I-cord on for his overalls. I made the Bride of Frankenstein, and so when I stopped her face and went into her hair, I just did about 10 or 15 rows of the black color of her hair before I started the toe for the top of her head, so she had really tall Bride of Frankenstein hair. So yeah, just use your creativity and share it with me. On Instagram, I am Andi.the.knittress, and just tag me or, send it to me privately. I'd love to see all of the dolls that you all make. And thanks for checking this out.